Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Look, Wrestling 101, classes in session. Pay attention to the teachings, that's from Andrew and Derek. I mean, these guys making a killing with no competition. Dynamic duo better than the Hardy Boys and the Dudley Boys. Everybody make some noise, mess with them, you get destroyed. They cannot be beat, take a seat. Watch them do their thing on the MIC. Face defeat, they cannot be seen like JC. Oh my goodness, it's a killing spree.
Boy Daltano here, and you're listening to Wrestling IQ 101. Have a Dilf day.
Hey everyone, this is Andrew from Wrestling IQ 101. When I'm not hosting our podcast, I'm usually at collarandelbowbrand.com. That's right, Collar and Elbow is the only place that combines wrestling with street attire. And I know what you're thinking, I want to look fashionable too, and I also want to save 10%. So head over to collarandelbowbrand.com and use the promo code WIQ101 and look fashionable and save some money. And now, on with the show. Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Wrestling IQ 101. I'm Andrew, and you can listen to Wrestling IQ 101 right here on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at Wrestling IQ 101. And today, on the phone with me is the Dark Horse himself, Johnny Moran. How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm really excited that I'm getting to talk to you. You've been doing some pretty cool things here lately.
I appreciate that. I'm super excited to be on the podcast.
We got to start off here because, you're known as the Dark Horse. How did that come about?
A lot of times, I get kind of like overlooked or, labeled either. When I first started out, it was always, oh, he's a body guy, or he works a, per se main event style or an older school style, and a lot of people overlook me because of that, but I like to tell a story in my matches, so as it goes being overlooked, the Dark Horse thing came from, I got put in a lot of multi-man matches, and one of my friends actually was just like, man, Moran, you're always the Dark Horse in the match. I never know if you're going to win or you're going to be a loser. And, at the time, I used to have an older persona, the man, Johnny Moran. It just kind of rolled off your tongue. So, it fell into my lap when I first started.
Yeah.
And, obviously, Becky Lynch started using the man, and, I took it from Ric Flair. So, when she started using it, I didn't look at it as this massive negative thing that, a lot of people are like, oh, my God, you're done. What are you going to do now? I just looked at it as a positive. Now I have to change. Now I have to think of something new. And him just saying it, I'm like, wait a minute, I kind of like that, the Dark Horse. Then I looked up the definition, and it just kind of worked. A lot of things in my career, anybody will tell you this, it's just the right place, right time. And he said it when I was looking for a name and a moniker, and, the moniker fit, because I really am. There's a lot of promotions, I have to work my way up from the bottom. So that's where it all came from.
Yeah, you're talking about going way back. I was watching you when you were part of the Mighty Militia.
The Mighty Militia. I started out just to, get a match, a debut at my training center. I started tagging with this guy called World Class Blaze Daniels, and we were the World Class Gentlemen. That was just a thrown together thing to get us out there and get my debut. After that, I was very good friends with Mike Mitchell, which was one half of the Mighty Militia, but also JP, which is, they were called the Xer guys. They did a lot of promotions up there. They used to, before it was Wrestle Pro, I forget what it was called. Pro Wrestling Syndicate.
Yeah.
And FPW, I think, was up that way. FTW. They did a lot of Jersey promotions, so they used to bring me, tag along, so, anytime there was a six-man, I would always be the third Xer guy. So that kind of, helped me out, and then eventually JP, one half of the Xer guys, started to slow down, didn't want to wrestle as much, wanted to take some time off. So then me and Mike, we were, best friends since college. And, like, when we started training, we were like, oh, man, like, wouldn't it be cool to have a tag team? But then we were kind of like, let's just do our singles thing. And, we had the chance to do the little Mighty Militia run. We also, Sonny Kiss was part of that, at the time. Mm-hmm. I've been in multiple tag teams. I just kind of end up in some.
Yeah, you've got some, either you've been teaming up with some cool people like Robbie E. or facing legends like the Patriot and James Ellsworth. I mean, it's some crazy stuff you've been able to do as a tag team. Yeah.
That was, a couple of years ago, yeah. At the show where it was James Ellsworth and teaming up with the Patriot, that was actually, it used to be called the Red Barons, and it's right here in Moosic, right near Scranton. So, like, they're the minor league affiliate. They used to be the minor league affiliate for the Phillies. Now they're the minor league affiliate for the New York Yankees. Like, my whole life, I went to see baseball games there. Mm-hmm. So that was a cool moment to be with Mike, because he also, his whole entire life, like, went to the Red Barons or the minor league Yankees, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yankees. So, like, it was a cool moment, because, like, when, like, we were walking through and leaving, I remember stopping, and I, like, grabbed him by the wrist. I'm like, take this in, because God knows if we'll ever, like, who knows if they'll ever run a wrestling event here again. So, like, we, like, stopped and, like, stared out at the field, and we had, like, a little moment, like, when we got in the back.
Sure, right? That's pretty cool, competing in your home place and home crowd and a stadium like that. It must have been really thrilling, so it sounds like it.
Yeah, no, it definitely was, and it was, like, a moment, because, like, my whole childhood, like, my uncle and my family, like, we always had, like, season tickets, or somebody in the family had season tickets, so, like, we'd always go there for, like, 4th of July, because they always had, like, a huge firework, thing for the 4th of July, so we'd always go as kids, and, like, just being there with the Patriot, it was really cool, and that's why, like, I stopped, because when I first started out, the Extra guys actually got me on a big-time wrestling show at the CYC, where I went to see wrestling as a little kid. Like, my uncle used to take me there when I was, like, a little kid. And, like, I never thought I'd be able to wrestle in that building. And, they pulled strings, and I got on the show. I was in a 6-man against them. And I did. I got to enjoy that. And I remember, that was the only show my dad got to see before he, like, passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, like, I always think of those moments, like, take it in. Like, when I did extra work for WWE, I did it at the Wilkes-Barre Arena, which is 20 minutes away from me. And, like, when SmackDown and Raws would come in, it would be at the Wilkes-Barre Arena. And so when I did extra work, I had my, match before SmackDown in the Wilkes-Barre Arena. So I, like, remember, like, just stopping and, like, thinking, like, holy shit, you, like, sat in these stands up here, like, watched wrestling. So, like, I always take those times to, like, sink those things in, because, like, you always hear interviews, like people say they were going, like, 90 miles an hour, they didn't even stop and, like, take it all in. Mm-hmm. Like, I always make a point to take things in.
True, and it is so weird, because even here on the podcast, there's people that we grew up watching, and then they're calling up, or sitting with them in the locker room getting interviews, and you're just like, how the hell like is this happening to me? I'm just a regular person.
Right.
And it's pretty surreal. So yeah, it's pretty cool, like, that you take the moment and realize where you are, and sometimes that's important to really refresh and appreciate where you're going.
No, definitely.
It's pretty cool that you're pretty social on Instagram and Facebook. A couple weeks back, I mean, you made a very emotional post by wishing McLovin a happy birthday. What was that about?
I just, it was his birthday, so I figured I'd, give him a shout out.
Did he tell you the time?
What's that?
Did he tell you the time? Remember that line in the movie? He gave her the time?
No, I don't remember that.
he's like walking in the hallway. He's like, I gave her the time. And they're like, and he said like 10:51 or something like that. And he literally gave her the time.
Oh man, if I dropped that at 10:59, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Man, that is a classic movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Super
Me
bad.
too. I couldn't even tell you, like, I remember when it first came out. Like I think I went to see that like 3 or 4 times, like at the actual movies before like it even came out on like DVD or anything.
Yeah, I always wanted to do the Seth costume and just go with like a bottle of Tide to somebody's house.
Yes, that'd be great.
And some ketchup on the pants. I was like, yo, this would be like the funniest thing ever. So yeah, that is a classic movie. There's some classic lines in there for sure.
Oh yeah.
You know, what are some things that you like that people might be surprised that you like?
I'm very much so into all types of music.
Okay.
So, like, there's not really a type of music that I hate, except for mumble rap. I have a tough time with mumble rap. Like, I you know, when I was a kid, I used to be in, like, concert band and stuff like that. I also used to do plays. Because I thought, like, all these things, like, I knew when I was a little kid I always wanted to be a wrestler. And I kind of knew that there was, like, a performance aspect to it. Because I was, like, when I was a kid, I obviously saw No Holds Barred because I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan. I was like, well, if he does acting, like, do you think I have to do, like, acting to be a wrestler? So, like, I told my mom that, and my mom was like, oh, maybe if he starts doing plays and stuff, he'll stop being into, like, wrestling, which didn't stop me at all. It just made it even worse. But I ended up being in plays and concert choir and, you know, chorus and stuff like that. And it was just all because I thought maybe, like, it'll get rid of any kind of stage fright I would ever have. And it kind of did because when I was a kid, I don't know if you know what stomp is.
Oh yeah, it's like the stuff with the garbage cans, right? Like
Yeah,
dancing
right,
and stuff like that.
Okay, so here, this is my, like, embarrassing moment as a kid, and this, like, killed my stage fright forever. Now, mind you, I was 6 foot, like, 220 pounds when I was, like, 17, 18. So they got these recycling bins, and they're like, at this camp, this music camp that I was at, they were like, all right, we're going to do, they called it Stump, like it was the knockoff of Stomp. And they're like, you and this one kid, Brandon, that ended up being, like, a phenomenal drummer. He's out in California. He does, like, drumming for, like, Alice Cooper and, yeah, like, crazy bands and stuff like that. I think he stood in for Rob Zombie one time. So, like, he's done so many crazy things, and it's funny because, like, anytime I see him, like, he'll come home to, like, Scranton, and I'll see him, and, like, he'll be like, so I'll explain the story before I tell you. So we're up on these recycling bins, and we have these, like, I don't know, wire, like, mallets to hit the bottom of the recycling bins, and our shoes, my dad made mine. They had a wooden platform. He drilled 2 shoes that I was never going to wear again into these recycling bins, and my dad's like, oh, you'll be safe, you'll be fine. And I'm like, perfect. So then I had him drill my buddy Brendan's, too. Like, my dad was just a handy guy his whole life. So when we're coming off, he's coming from one side of the stage, I'm coming from another side of the stage. And it's, like, our big thing where we come out and, like, we've practiced this probably the week leading up, like, every day, twice a day. So my weight is on these garbage cans every day, twice a day for, like, an hour, hour and a half. We have, like, practice, like, switching, turning around, doing, like, the spin crap. I take 3 steps on the side of the stage. My foot goes through the platform that my dad built. I fall face forward. All you hear is, like, over the whole audience. He still comes out. He starts laughing. I'm, like, dying because I'm just like, oh, I want to go in a hole and, like, cry. Like, it was just so embarrassing. But it, like, killed stage fright for me from, like, anything that could happen to me. I'm like, that's the worst right there. just falling on that stage, and then, like, the whole crowd giving that, and, like, everybody was into it, and, like, I killed the momentum of everybody being into this whole show. Like, the one guy that was directing it came up and, like, pulled me back off the stage because I was still hooked up to these things. I couldn't get my foot out. Like, it was so embarrassing. But that's probably the biggest things that people wouldn't know about me. You know.
Sure.
Other than that, I'm pretty straightforward. I like to lift weights. I'm into, you know, comic books, horror movies, any kind of movies, or any kind of music too.
You have a favorite superhero?
What's that? Favorite superhero?
Yeah.
I would have to say Wolverine. Wolverine's my favorite.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty crazy because they're an NYCW. I mean, you've been a great champion over there. I mean, your reign is still continuing.
Yeah, I know. The whole COVID thing really helped out. But it's made my reign last way longer than I would have expected. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with this, and then like at PPW, I still have the television championship. That's the only thing about this whole COVID thing. Like they, you know, a lot of promotions are celebrating like dates of like I've had the championship for over a year at both now, and I'm just like, yeah, but I haven't defended it. I'd love to be out there defending it. You know what I mean? And it's sad because like I had so many plans for like New York Championship Wrestling and like what I was going to do there, and like it all kind of got halted, and now it's, you know, I'm stuck. The belt's sitting here at my house. You know what I mean? As where I could be defending it, you know, monthly.
Sure.
Same thing with the PPW belt. It's sitting here at my house, not getting defended.
Sure. You know, and it's crazy too because I mean, it wasn't that long ago you made your debut at Titan Championship Wrestling, and there you are, getting a premier title shot there. You know, against Sean Donovan for the standalone championship. I mean, you know, representing the company for the Titan. So I mean, it's pretty cool that, you know, you've been getting these opportunities.
Yeah, you know, Titan has a lot of confidence in me, and I love working there. That match specifically, I've been waiting to wrestle Sean for probably 5 years since I've been in the business, because Sean was one of those guys, like the promo that I did on him, like I was telling the truth there. Like I met him 5 years ago at a Jersey All-Pro show, and he like pulled me aside. Not that he pulled me aside. We were just talking because neither one of us were on the show. We had to set up a cage for Moth and Mac versus Loki and Homicide.
Yeah, that was a great night.
Yeah, we were at that show, and like I brought it up to him when we wrestled. I was like, you know, I was like, that's where I pulled that promo from. And he's, oh my God, he's like, I forgot I met you there. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I remember that night I went home and I like looked him up. And he's like just one of those guys that like every time he's in the ring, he tells a story. He does something different, and you know, he makes sense of his work. And he's someone I've always wanted to get in the ring with. So like when I heard like the opportunity was coming up, I was super stoked about it.
Yeah, and you guys have kind of similar backgrounds too. You guys are both part of tag teams.
Yep.
You know, single guys. So I mean, it only kind of was fitting that you guys got in the ring together, and you know, you guys are standing out right now as being top tier athletes.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, you alluded before to music, and I got a chance to listen to your theme song, the Dark Horse Anthem. How did that come about?
John Kieran actually reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he said he was making music for people, and, you know, I literally gave him, like, and this is the thing, too, like, I gave him, like, 3 different, like, songs. I'm like, yeah, this is, like, kind of what I listen to. Like, I kind of feel these songs, like, when I come out. And, like, I gave him the one I was using, which was Can't Be Saved by a Census Fail. Usually I would use that as a baby face. Even as a heel, I was starting to use that. I kind of used that from the beginning. I also used Fever Dog. I forget who sings that, but it's in the Almost Famous movie, and that's where I took that one from. and I gave him that, and I forget what the third one I gave him, and he was like, what song do you want to kind of go after? I'm like, I don't know, like, I just really like guitar solos, and then he does this sick guitar solo in the song that I have.
Yeah, it's an awesome song. I was listening to it before, and I was like, damn, like, it's pretty awesome that you have a custom song, and you know, it's pretty cool that it makes you seem a little different when you come out, for sure.
Thank you.
You know, you've been in the ring with so many great people, from Clutch Adams to Sean Pratt, Christina Marie, who you know, Britt Jackson, Killian Murphy. I mean, these guys here in the past have been great opponents for you. Who are you looking to wrestle in the future? Who are people on your list to wrestle?
You know, Monster Mac. That's one of my people that I'm looking at. You know.
Oh yeah.
He's at the top of Titan. I mean, also the Titan Killer. You know. He's another one that's at the top of Titan. I'm really looking at, you know, Titan and their whole roster. You know, there's so many people from so many different companies that I don't get to work normally. So the opportunities are there, and you know, they're giving me the matches. I'm earning them, but you know, they're giving it to me. Like the match I had with Wrecking Ball, like I barely walked out of the thing. He took too long on one thing, and then he just got hit with a DDT, and the match was over. I had to win. But there's another guy that I've been waiting a very long time to work. I'd love to work Ilya Baratz. I've worked him before, but you know, I worked him when I was a year, maybe a year and a half in the business. Now being 5 going on 6, I'd like to work somebody like that again. Adam Chandler is on the roster. I've worked him. I'd love to work him at Titan. There's a long list. I don't say no to anybody.
Yeah, you know, I was there for that Wrecking Ball match in person. I mean, that was a crazy match. I mean, you said Dark Horse for sure. I mean, that match was going 50-50, and you alluded to it. I mean, he only got the best of you for 3 seconds.
Yeah. You know, it was brutal. I felt that match for like at least 3 to 4 days after. You know.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, I have to respect the fact that you actually picked Monster Mac. I mean, I've seen him destroy people with Dan Moff in the ring, or also by himself. So I respect that you picked him for sure.
You know, you got to make noise. You got to go after the guys that have had the bigger matches, because if you don't, you're just going to be at the bottom of the pack. You know, fighting at the bottom of the pack. I want to go to the top of the pack. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that for sure. I would have started with somebody like Virgil.
Yeah.
That's more my speed, but I'm glad that you really want to get in there and make some noise with some of the top hitting people here. You know, you have some interesting tattoos. Can you explain what they're about?
My first tattoo that I ever got, I was actually talking to Gino Gotts about this today, because he's doing the whole Italian Heritage Month or whatever he's doing. So I have a Polish eagle holding a 4-leaf clover, with the stem of the 4-leaf clover being an Italian horn. So my mom is 50% Italian and 50% Irish. My dad was 50% Italian and 50% Polish. So that's kind of like the embodiment of my lineage there. And then I love Japanese tattoos, so my other sleeve is entirely Japanese. But when I started out, like, I didn't know that I was just going to do a whole Japanese sleeve. So there's some Japanese mixed in on my left arm that just has a bunch of wild stuff. Like, me and all my 3 best friends from high school all have an anchor somewhere on their body. So, like, I have an anchor on my tricep. Then I have the, you know, roses and a skull, and then the Keystone State, and then it says NEPA, and it's live and die in NEPA. It's where I live. It's where I've grown up. I used to live in Jersey for like years, but then I ended up moving back here. and then there's the koi fish that I do have on my arm. Like, that was when I was a kid, like, I always see people with the koi fish, and I always wanted a koi fish, so there's no real story to that one. I have my dad's initials on my left wrist and my mom's initials on my right wrist.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool that you were being able to express yourself in the tattoos.
Yeah, I love getting tattoos. I remember, like, you know, I was only going to get that, like, Heritage family one. I was like, this is it. This is the only tattoo I'm ever going to get. And, you know, that turned into my whole left arm is going to be done, and my right arm. Oh, yeah, and then the tattoo I have on my chest is Follow Your Bliss. And it's just something that I always heard from, I had a coach in high school that was a strength and conditioning coach, and, like, he played for Wake Forest. His knee ended up getting blown out. His name was Chad Rebar, and he had a couple pro tryouts for the Giants and the Indianapolis Colts, but, like, nothing ever happened because of his knee. And he always would say, just follow your bliss, man. Just, like, do what you love, and everything will be okay. And, like, that's what he did his whole life. He actually lost his life to cancer, but he always would put that in my head, like, follow your bliss, man.
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring that you're doing that. You're following your bliss, and hopefully things will work out for you, because you've only been wrestling for a couple of years, right?
Yeah, about 5 years.
Yeah, so I mean, there's still a lot to learn and still a lot for you to do. But every day you get closer and closer. Do you feel like these opportunities are coming for you soon?
I do. I felt like right before Corona hit, like, the opportunities were massive. My calendar was so full. Like, I think February I had every Friday, every Saturday, and 2 Sundays. Then my April was supposed to be every Friday, every Saturday, and 3 Sundays, and a Wednesday. Like, I was getting so filled up with shows, and, like, I was getting opportunities after opportunities, and starting to get numbers and contacts for places I wanted to go, and, you know, and then COVID hit, and it's just like the world's at a standstill. And luckily, I still have Titan, and I also do Camp Leapfrog, if you had the chance to watch that.
Yeah, Leapfrog?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and it's pretty cool because, you know, there's a lot of different promotions that are giving out chances. You know, you see NXT and AEW, you know, really having an resurgence of indie wrestlers. Is there a place you would prefer to go, or do you just want to just get signed somewhere?
It would all depend on, you know, what they're going to do with me, or where, like, what's their plans for me. I'm 32 years old, so, like, my window is a little less than, you know, somebody that's in their 20s. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to know, like, if I got an opportunity for either, like, and they wanted, if I had all the companies on the table, let's just say we have Impact, NWA, AEW, WWE, we have all 4 of those contracts in front of me, I would ask, what's the plans for me in a year? Mm-hmm. What's the plans for me in 6 months? Like, where do you see me?
Sure, you know, and you got to ask that. It's important stuff for your career, for sure.
Right.
You know, it's funny because you come out with some of these great promos. You know, you're at the railroads. You're doing the night vision ones. Who comes up with these? These are all your visions, or did someone help you come up with some of these promos?
It's a collaborative effort between me and a promoter. His name is Alex Watt. He promotes High Tension Wrestling. He's also an owner of PPW, and he's also involved in Camp Leapfrog as one of the owners. So I'll have a promo set in my head, and, like, I may even just like call him up and just tell him it as I'm saying it, and then I'll say, like, you know, I'm thinking about doing a railroad track, and it's usually like collaborative effort between the both of us. Like, he'll be like, I don't know about a railroad track. Why you got a railroad track? Or, like, let's just say the night vision. Like, why are we gonna do night vision? Like, because the lighting was awful, so we need something to fix the lighting to make it look better. But it's definitely a collaborative effort between the both of us.
Sure. You know, a couple of people I've talked to, and they told us, their plan after wrestling is to be a trainer or to give back in some way. Do you feel the same way?
I would love to do that. I don't know if the training route would be, because I've done the training route. I help out here and there with PPW now. I used to be more heavily with the School of the Underdogs. I used to be one of the trainers there, along with Deshaun Pratt and Mikey Whipwreck and Tommy Suede. But I would like to, get back and maybe do like backstage work, help somebody with an angle or, a finish of a match or, how do we get to here, get to there. I'd like to be an agent, maybe even do some commentary,
Mm-hmm. Sure. It's pretty cool that you have all these different avenues where you can go when it's all said and done. When people see your matches, what's the one thing you want people to take away from them?
He's trying to entertain us, tell us a story.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, I'll be honest with you, like, a lot of times the moves don't matter if there's no story behind it. Mm-hmm. Like, if you watch that Wrecking Ball match, that was just an uphill battle for me the whole match. And I just caught him at the right second. And that's all I wanted. Like, I wanted to get that across. And I had, like, multiple people watch it. And, they were just like, wow, you really told the story of, like, David and Goliath. Like, David barely got there. If he didn't have the rock that shot Goliath in the head, like, he wouldn't have beat him. You know what I mean? Like, Wrecking Ball got cocky on the top rope, dove at me, rolled through, got up, DDT quick. It was over. I didn't beat his ass the whole match because that's not what it needed. I needed to tell the story of he's 365 or 370 pounds. I'm only 215 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's a massive man. And it was funny because actually Mac said that when we got there. He's like, man, I thought you guys were closer in size, but Jesus, he's bigger than you. And I'm like, yeah. So, like, I just like to tell a story in my matches, hopefully to entertain you too. Hopefully this story that I tell makes sense to me and you.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I do, serious wrestling, like at Titan or like when I'm at Leapfrog. Like, I just want you to laugh and have a good time and, like, be entertained. And hopefully that comes across if you watch Camp Leapfrog.
Yeah. And it's awesome because when you say you want to make people laugh and entertain, the Dark Horse side of you has an alter ego, right? You have the Dark Horse of Love.
Oh, you saw that promo.
Yeah.
So there was supposed to be a show, and it got stopped by COVID, where I was supposed to wrestle with Guy Skolowski, and he's someone that, like, I really didn't know at first, and he's up and coming. So, I wanted to portray the, cocky champion completely overlooking his opponent. And then we kept going back and forth, and I just went in my basement, and I was like, what can I do? Like, he kept talking about his, like, green drink and stuff, so I found this Alf stuffed animal that I won at a fair when I was a little kid, and I never threw it out. So that was down there, and I found this wig and this vest that was literally, it disintegrated at the end of that promo. And, like, if I didn't get that done in one take, like, there was no way I'd have that vest. It was like an old costume, like, cowboy vest that was just, like, falling apart, literally. And, like, by the end of that promo, like, all the pleather just fell off of it.
Wow, that's crazy. Man, that's awesome that you made it work, because that's one of the, it's such a different promo, and it's such a cool promo of you to do, instead of just being this big monster guy, just having some fun, and like you said, you alluded to the green drink and Alf. I'm like, that is just so funny. Like, it's just...
Yeah, I wanted to get loose, I wanted to get entertained, because, like, sometimes, like, it's always, like, this serious promo and back and forth, and And, like, I told him, I'm like, yo, you can come back at me as hard as you want or whatever, but I'm literally going to play this as, like, I'm overlooking you. So when we'd have the match eventually, like, I would tell the story of I'm overlooking him, and then, like, he gets in, like, these big spots where he gets the advantage, and then I'm outsmarted by him. Like, that was a story I wanted to portray in the match that never got to happen. Hopefully it gets to happen somewhere down the road, because those promos were good, especially, like, the back and forth with me and him.
Yeah, absolutely. And if not, I mean, you can always bring that persona other places, and you can be like a Mick Foley, right? Just have different alter egos. Because I was like, yo, this is awesome. Like, this is such a cool thing.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to see that you're doing some great things here at Titan and other places, and hopefully when things start really resuming back to normal. But there's some great matches I was watching with you again with the Mighty Militia. It was like watching you in the Heavenly Bodies, you and Corey Dillinger versus Big Money Juan Vargas. I mean,
yeah.
Is there a thing that do you prefer singles wrestling over tag team, or have you grown to appreciate either or of them?
I always loved tag team wrestling as a kid. I was a huge fan of, like, my brother had all these old Saturday Night Main Event tapes, and for some reason, I loved the Brain Busters as a kid. Like, I loved Tully and Arn. And, like, everybody asks, like, who's your favorite wrestler or whatever. Like, I was just a fan of wrestling. Like, I loved Rick Rude. Like, I loved a lot of the bad guys, but I also loved a lot of the good guys, too. Like, I loved Hulk Hogan. I loved The Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid. Like, I grew up on, like, all those guys. And Bret Hart, like, I thought was God, like, when I was a kid.
Yeah, Bret and Shawn were always my two favorite growing up, for sure. And The Undertaker with the purple gloves.
Yeah.
Because I had just missed the 80s, and I became a fan in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
So I missed all. I mean, luckily I had a video store on the corner, and I got to watch like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that, like, my brother's 10 years older than me, and he recorded, like, all the Saturday Night's Main Events and, like, Superstars, and, like, I had, like, Starrcade 87. I wasn't even born yet, and, like, I had that. And that's how I kind of figured out there was, like, NWA or WCW at the time, because I had no, like, correlation of, like, why this guy doesn't wrestle on this show or this guy doesn't. Because I remember Arn and Bully were on this Starrcade 87 video, but, like, they were on all these Saturday Night Main Events that I had also.
Sure. When you say your brother's 10 years older, when you started watching, was he still watching it with you, or he was just like, here, just watch this and left you alone?
I didn't watch it at night, but wrestling wasn't really on at night. And he was playing football, so we never, like, watched it together. It was, like, kind of our thing. I watch it by myself, like, all day long when he's at school, and I was, like, literally, he would leave his LJNs out for me. There's, like, pictures of me as a baby, like, chewing on a Hulk Hogan LJN when I was teething.
Wow.
Yeah, my older brother, like, exposed me to wrestling at, like, an infant age because he was so into it. Like, I used to have a cassette tape of the main event of WrestleMania 2 because he bought it for me when I was a little kid. He, like, bought it at one of the wrestling shows at the CYC that I ended up wrestling at because that was, like, a thing back then. They would have, like, the main event of WrestleMania on a cassette tape, and you could listen to it.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
So I would take, like, the King Kong Bundy action figure and the Hulk Hogan action figure and, like, act out what they were doing.
Wow. That's pretty cool. But so you're all Philly fans? I mean, every team you're just Philly?
Oh, no. Don't get that confused. I do like the Philadelphia Phillies, but as a football team, I like a horrible team, the team at Washington. They're terrible. They disappoint me every year, but I've always been a fan since I was a little kid. And then basketball, I really don't watch much. When I was a kid, obviously, I was a Bulls fan, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm a Mets fan, and my Jets are just terrible, so I completely understand where you're coming from. You're coming from in football.
You feel my pain.
Yeah, the Jets never do anything good, especially lately.
That's how Washington is. Washington's just I always feel like, oh man, we're gonna make it this year, and then it's ruined every year.
Yeah, I became a LeBron James fan as soon as he came in the league, so I'm okay now.
Oh, okay.
So I have one front runner team. I used to be like a Knicks fan, and I'm like, no, I can't. I have to have one team that wins for my own self-esteem. But yeah, like you said before, like the guys from the '80s and the guys from like Bret Hart. Growing up in the '90s, were you a Stone Cold guy or a Rock guy?
I was both.
Okay.
I actually I used to call Stone Cold the flipped hair guy because I used to watch WCW Saturday Night at my grandmother's when I would go to my grandmother's on Saturdays, and he had like this slicked over because he just got out of the Hollywood Blondes, and he used to have Dragon Slayer on his boots and on his tights, and I would always tell my mom, I'm like, can you get me the Dragon Slayer guy for my birthday, for Christmas? Like, I always wanted that action figure. That was this huge, like, I didn't know his name was Stone Cold Steve Austin or Stone Cold or Steve Austin or anything at that point. Mm-hmm. I just knew him as Dragon Slayer. And I just, for some reason, I just was connected and I liked him. And then when he came to WWF, I had no clue that was the Steve Austin that had the Dragon Slayer thing. It was only like years later when I saw like one of his like DVDs, and I'm like, oh my god, he was the Dragon Slayer guy that I like loved as a kid that I never got the toy. But I was both because like I bought in. I was a Rocky Maivia fan like when The Rock came in, and like it was great for me as a kid because like they constantly feuded, so it's like your two favorites are always fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a crazy time back then too, and
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I miss those days, but today's athletes are incredible.
Yeah.
And and it's great to see you doing. I like your style. It's a little bit of a hybrid because you're a big guy, but you can also do some crazy things in there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I know you have a T-shirt place, teesprings.com, right?
Yes, I do have a Teespring.
You have shirts and masks up there, right? And a whole bunch of other things?
Shirts, masks, fanny packs, stickers, posters. There's everything you could possibly want. T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts. I think I even have a zip-up, too.
Oh, pretty cool, man. So, yeah, you're getting the merch out there. So, before we wrap things up, can you tell people where they can get you on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram?
Yeah, on Facebook, I am Johnny Moran the Wrestler. That's my like page, if you could go there and like it. On Instagram, I'm Johnny Moran _, and on Twitter, I'm Johnny Moran _. And if you go on YouTube, it's just, I think you have to put in the search bar Johnny Moran the Wrestler, and then you'll see my my actual channel. It's got over 200 and some matches on there.
Absolutely, man. I thank you so much for taking up the time and chatting with us about your career and where you want to go in the future. And I hope you're on your way.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for us, this has been Wrestling IQ 101. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wrestling IQ 101. You can listen right here by hitting the subscribe button. Check out past episodes, new episodes, and we'll see you guys really, really soon. Be well.